not even uploaded the other two videos. Because I can never sit in one spot long enough for it to upload. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it. Good morning.
Hang on, glasses. Tell jokes or something.
Tell a joke. I don't know any jokes. I don't know any jokes. I used to know a ton of jokes. Anyway, I think it's been 2 days since we did Bible study. I guess we need to get up at 4 because it's so hot outside. Everything we need to do is in the morning, and then, so yeah, we need our priorities realigned. So, hope everybody's having a good Friday. I don't know any jokes. Do you know any jokes?
No.
None?
Mm.
Okay, after this you have to at least stop and upload a video so everybody knows we're still here.
Drinking my coffee out of the new Fortis Defense mugs. What?
Okay, Deuteronomy 21, I believe.
What all we have today?
21, 22, and 23? Yes.
Putting the honey in honeymoon.
Honey.
Okay, alright, we'll do it too. It's day like 45 or 46 of Copying Christ. We're slowly making it through this. It's going to be longer than a year, but
Doesn't it matter that we're doing it?
yeah.
I mean, not everybody's perfect. Okay, I don't know anybody's perfect. But what I mean is you gotta do it at your own pace. You okay?
No, I thought we were talking about perfect people.
Not everybody. There is no one perfect. You can't even spell it.
Yeah.
Do not say Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you see what I got away with. Can you hit the play button?
Deuteronomy 21.
I'm gonna turn
If
that on.
someone is found slain, lying in a field in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess, and it is not known who the killer was, your elders and judges shall go out and measure the distance from the body to the neighboring towns. Then the elders of the town nearest the body shall take a heifer that has never been worked and has never worn a yoke, and lead it down to a valley that has not been plowed or planted, and where there is a flowing stream. There in the valley they are to break the heifer's neck. The Levitical priests shall step forward, for the Lord your God has chosen them to minister and to pronounce blessings in the name of the Lord, and to decide all cases of dispute and assault. Then all the elders of the town nearest the body shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley, and they shall declare, our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it done. Accept this atonement for your people Israel, whom you have redeemed, Lord, and do not hold your people guilty of the blood of an innocent person. Then the bloodshed will be atoned for, and you will have purged from yourselves the guilt of shedding innocent blood, since you have done what is right in the eyes of the Lord. When you go to war against your enemies and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands and you take captives, if you notice among the captives a beautiful woman and are attracted to her, you may take her as your wife. Bring her into your home and have her shave her head, trim her nails, and put aside.
Wait a minute. I thought when they took a town, it was wiped out. I didn't think they were allowed to bring people back because they could veer them off on a different path of worship. So that contradicted it right there.
I remember there was what was the
Oh, it said when you
No,
take
there
a
was-
town, you destroy everything because it'll keep you.
it was related to paganism.
So don't bring them back to your camps because it will.
Yeah, but
Steer you in the path of worship.
I think it was because of paganism. Okay, we're gonna have to look it up when we get done.
The clothes she was wearing when captured, after she has lived in your house and mourned her father and mother for a full month, then you may go to her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. If you are not pleased with her, let her go wherever she wishes. You must not sell her or treat her as a slave, since you have dishonored her. If a man has 2 wives, and he loves one but not the other, and both bear him sons, but the firstborn is the son of the wife he does not love, when he wills his property to his sons, he must not give the rights of the firstborn to the son of the wife he loves in preference to his actual firstborn, the son of the wife he does not love. He must acknowledge the son of his unloved wife as the firstborn by giving him a double share of all he has. That son is the first sign of his father's strength. The right of the firstborn belongs to him. If someone has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother, and will not listen to them when they discipline him, his father and mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, "This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He is a glutton and a drunkard." Then all the men of his town are to stone him to death.
Dang.
You must purge
Damn.
the evil from among you. All Israel will hear of it and be afraid. If someone guilty of a capital offense is put to death and their bodies exposed on a pole, you must not leave the body hanging on the pole overnight. Be sure to bury it that same day, because anyone who is hung on a pole is under God's curse. You must not desecrate the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance.
Okay.
Dang.
Look up 2110 in the Moody. See what it says. And you know what's interesting? The footnotes in my Bible jump right across it. Oh, wait.
2110. Moses legislated a number of family-related laws, the first dealing with the regulations regarding captive women. Earlier, the laws stated that women and children from captured cities were to be spared. The possibility arose, as described here, that one of the soldiers might find one of the captive women attractive enough for marriage. Caution was in order here before the intermarriage was expressly forbidden with women from the Canaanite nations, and should not have been even possible if all the inhabitants, including the women, were put to death as the Lord had instructed.
Can you read it again?
Moses legislated a number of family-related laws, the first dealing with regulations regarding captive women. It says earlier, the law stated in 2014 that women and children from captive cities were to be spared. The possibility arose, as described here, that one of the soldiers might find one of the captive women attractive enough for marriage. Caution was in order here because intermarriage was expressly forbidden with women from the Canaanite nations, 7:3, and should not have been even possible if all the inhabitants, including the women, were put to death as the Lord had instructed. The background for this situation, although not explicitly stated, is that some of the captive women might wish to associate themselves with the God of Israel, like Rahab. And now the possibility of an Israelite marrying one of these women was an option. Several stipulations, however, were in order. She was to shave her head and trim her nails and get rid of her wardrobe. The purpose of these acts is not clear. Some think that if the only reason a woman was desirable in the first place was that she was physically beautiful, the removal of adornments would mean she would be less attractive. The most likely reason is that these acts demonstrate that she needed to remove anything pertaining to her formal life and embrace life within the Israelite community. This would also remind her husband that he is no longer to treat her as an alien but as a wife. She was also given a full month to mourn her parents. Presumably, her father and mother would be dead after the city was captured, or she would need time to grieve the losses. If those stipulations were met, then the soldier would be free to marry her. But if he was ever displeased with her, she was to be released from the marriage and she could go wherever she wishes. Even though she was a foreigner, she had certain rights and was not to be sold for money or mistreated in any way because she had been humbled as a result of the divorce, and so he may not humiliate her further. While some of these regulations may affront modern sensibilities, these regulations were a far cry from the common way war captives were treated throughout other ancient Near Eastern nations of the time.
Okay, so
it did say that everybody was to be put to death. So
But they're saying the ones that wanted to worship God.
Remember I brought that up a couple studies ago. Well, what if they wanted to convert?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of deal.
Okay.
But it said straight up, put them to death. Wasn't no jacking around.
I think that we need to talk about this rebellious son.
Well, they got stoned. That's all there was to it.
Well, it says that at first it says stubborn and rebellious, who does not obey his father or mother, when does not listen to him, or blah 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 blah. Okay, then it says he's a glutton and a drunkard. That is much different than stubborn and rebellious.
That's what it talks about it here. Rebellious children. Oh, excuse me. Rebellious children are heartbreaking to their parents. Even when parents do the best they can, some children will refuse to adhere to God's standards of conduct. It says, in such cases, the Old Testament law commanded this drastic measure. The law reveals how much God desires that children respect and obey their parents. He desires that the proper authority structures in our family be established early, so such radical measures are not necessary.
Okay, so what else do you have for this chapter?
That's it.
Okay. Ready for 22?
Deuteronomy 22. If you see your fellow Israelites' ox or sheep straying, do not ignore it, but be sure to take it back to its owner. If they do not live near you, or if you do not know who owns it, take it home with you and keep it until they come looking for it. Then give it back. Do the same if you find their donkey or cloak or anything else they have lost. Do not ignore it. If you see your fellow Israelite's donkey or ox fallen on the road, do not ignore it. Help the owner get it to its feet. A woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear women's clothing. For the Lord your God detests anyone who does this. If you come across a bird's nest beside the road, either in a tree or on the ground, and the mother is sitting on the young or on the eggs, do not take the mother with the young. You may take the young, but be sure to let the mother go, so that it may go well with you, and you may have a long life. When you build a new house, make a parapet around your roof, so that you may not bring the guilt of bloodshed on your house if someone falls from the roof. Do not plant two kinds of seed in your vineyard. If you do, not only the crops you plant, but also the fruit of the vineyard will be defiled. Do not plow with an ox and a donkey yoked together. Do not wear clothes of wool and linen woven together. Make tassels on the four corners of the cloak you wear. If a man takes a wife, and after sleeping with her dislikes her, and slanders her, and gives her a bad name, saying, I married this woman, but when I approached her, I did not find proof of her virginity, then the young woman's father and mother shall bring to the town elders at the gate proof that she was a virgin. Her father will say to the elders, I gave my daughter in marriage to this man, but he dislikes her. Now he has slandered her and said, I did not find your daughter to be a virgin, but here is the proof of my daughter's virginity. Then her parents shall display the cloth before the elders of the town, and the elders shall take the man and punish him. They shall fine him 100 shekels of silver and give them to the young woman's father, because this man has given an Israelite virgin a bad name. She shall continue to be his wife. He must not divorce her as long as he lives. If, however, the charge is true and no proof of the young woman's virginity can be found, she shall be brought to the door of her father's house, and there the men of her town shall stone her to death. She has done an outrageous thing in Israel by being promiscuous while still in her father's house. You must purge the evil from among you. If a man is found sleeping with another man's wife, both the man who slept with her and the woman must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. If a man happens to meet in a town a virgin pledged to be married and he sleeps with her, you shall take both of them to the gate of that town and stone them to death. The young woman because she was in a town and did not scream for help, and the man because he violated another man's wife. You must purge the evil from among you. But if out in the country a man happens to meet a young woman pledged to be married and rapes her, only the man who has done this shall die. Do nothing to the woman. She has committed no sin deserving death. This case is like that of someone who attacks and murders a neighbor. For the man found the young woman out in the country, and though the betrothed woman screamed, there was no one to rescue her. If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives. A man is not to marry his father's wife. He must not dishonor his father's bed.
Okay.
Deuteronomy.
Can you imagine being raped by somebody and then marrying them? Like, I know that the reason this is said is so because I think the reason this is written this way is because if a woman is not a virgin, she will not be able to marry because of what we read prior,
Yeah.
right? So that way she would be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine somebody raping you and then you're stuck with them the rest of your life? Anyway.
I mean, you imagine how many people would be put to death today?
Woo.
Just being, you know, just sleeping with somebody else and not being married to them, or, you know, being promiscuous. And
What stuck out about this to you? Was there anything that stuck out to you?
that I can, there's probably a whole lot of deaths.
Yeah, I agree, but
How relaxed the world is.
no, that's not what I was talking about.
Okay, what are you talking about?
The repetitiveness of purge the evil from among you.
So every time I beat you, just know I'm purging the evil.
Is that what it is?
I'll whoop you with a belt.
You better swing high.
I must purge the evil from among us.
Oh, I'm sure my dad probably thought that all the times he had to whoop me when I was a kid.
Yeah. Alright, one of the ugliest results of sin in our time is the confusion of sex roles. It says the Bible is unequivocal on this point. Don't reverse sex roles. Men, rejoice in your manliness. Women, celebrate your femaleness. Be the sexual gender God intended you to be. In your appearance, in your clothing, and in your thinking. Outside of these parameters, meaningful spiritual growth is impossible. The home is of vital concern to God. He cares about material faithfulness and purity. He spells out all of these relations to demonstrate that the marriage relationship is of great and holy importance. God's pattern for marriage is clear. It says marital fidelity is essential for establishing strong families whose members are characterized by maturity and wholeness. You know, that look.
Can't do it, can you?
Look,
Can't do it.
Look, here's the thing. I don't find it. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if the world. I don't say the world because there are some places that still go by this. But you know, think about it. A woman works in a field, picking cotton, picking crops, just whatever. Don't matter the color. A woman wearing a dress doing that, picking tobacco stuff. To me, that is a huge hindrance. Trying to wait a dress around while you're in the field doing the same thing, or while you're moving blocks. You know, because I mean, women, they did stuff like that back then. You know, it'd be a whole lot cooler, but I would think, but just a hindrance of all that stuff you're wearing, all the garments, while you're trying to do the same work that a man would be doing, but the man is wearing much less clothing. You know what I'm saying? I don't have an issue with girls not wearing dresses all the time. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it has anything to do with dresses per se.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Where it's talking about wearing the, where it's talking about you'll dress as a woman, a man will dress as a man.
Yeah, but I don't think that means. It says that women shall not wear men's clothing and men shall not wear women's clothing.
I mean, I can understand the men wearing women's clothing, but I don't know. I guess it don't bother me that
No,
women
but
wear
what?
men's clothing.
Okay, but I think that what it my understanding would be okay, so it says men should not wear women's clothing, right? Appear as women. Women should not appear as men. Has nothing to do with. I don't think it has anything to do with trousers.
Well, I mean, back then, they didn't even, the guys didn't even have trousers, I don't think.
Baby, what I meant was pants.
Well, I know what you said. I know what you said. It's cool, it's cool.
Okay.
Um,
Are you still reading?
no.
Do you have any more? But do you think it literally means dress, a dress, or women's clothing?
I think it meant,
Because it said women's clothing.
well, I mean, but a lot of time, like, I don't remember what the get up is that the men wear over in the desert. But that's like a dress, like I can't remember the name of it. But of course, women wear like big dresses. You know, they can't wear pants. Well, I mean, like over here, like Pentecost, they can wear like leggings under a dress, but they can't show it off. It has to be fully dressed.
I don't think those words were meant in I don't think it's related to like work or anything. I think that my impression was it's just men should not appear as women, women should not appear as men. That's just the way I took it.
Okay. Here we go.
Deuteronomy 23. No one who has been emasculated by crushing or cutting may enter the assembly of the Lord. No one born of a forbidden marriage, nor any of their descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord, not even in the 10th generation. No Ammonite or Moabite, or any of their descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord, not even in the 10th generation. For they did not come to meet you with bread and water on your way when you came out of Egypt. And they hired Balaam, son of Beor, from Pethor in Aram Naharaim, to pronounce a curse on you. However, the Lord your God would not listen to Balaam, but turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loves you. Do not seek a treaty of friendship with them as long as you live. Do not despise an Edomite, for the Edomites are related to you. Do not despise an Egyptian, because you resided as foreigners in their country. The 3rd generation of children born to them may enter the assembly of the Lord. When you are encamped against your enemies, keep away from everything impure. If one of your men is unclean because of a nocturnal emission, he is to go outside the camp and stay there. But as evening approaches, he is to wash himself, and at sunset he may return to the camp. Designate a place outside the camp where you can go to relieve yourself. As part of your equipment, have something to dig with, and when you relieve yourself, dig a hole and cover up your excrement. For the Lord your God moves about in your camp to protect you and to deliver your enemies to you. Your camp must be holy, so that he will not see among you anything indecent and turn away from you. If a slave has taken refuge with you, do not hand them over to their master. Let them live among you wherever they like, and in whatever town they choose. Do not oppress them. No Israelite man or woman is to become a shrine prostitute. You must not bring the earnings of a female prostitute or of a male prostitute into the house of the Lord your God to pay any vow, because the Lord your God detests them both. Do not charge a fellow Israelite interest, whether on money or food or anything else that may earn interest. You may charge a foreigner interest, but not a fellow Israelite, so that the Lord your God may bless you in everything you put your hand to in the land you are entering to possess. If you make a vow to the Lord your God, do not be slow to pay it, for the Lord your God will certainly demand it of you, and you will be guilty of sin. But if you refrain from making a vow, you will not be guilty. Whatever your lips utter, you must be sure to do, because you made your vow freely to the Lord your God with your own mouth. If you enter your neighbor's vineyard, You may eat all the grapes you want, but do not put any in your basket. If you enter your neighbor's grain field, you may pick kernels with your hands, but you must not put a sickle to their standing grain.
So you can take a snack, you just can't take a lot of it.
Yeah. In these verses, prostitution is singled out for special condemnation. It says the bonds of marriage are the only valid context for sexual activity. In our society, sex outside of marriage has become an accepted practice. Sexual purity is often considered something to be embarrassed about. Healthy marriages must be founded upon trust, which is based upon sexual purity. If we have failed in this area, there is forgiveness and hope for restoration, although the consequences of our sin may never truly be overcome. Being trustworthy is an absolute necessity for building healthy relationships. All enduring relationships are built on trust. When we make promises, we must learn to keep them, even at great inconvenience to ourselves.
That was a lot of content there today. You know?
Hey Bible readers, I'm Tara Lee Cobble and I'm your host for the Bible Recap. Moses continues his farewell speech today, and he covers a wide variety of laws in these 3 chapters. We don't have time to touch on them all, so I'll just pull a few from the ones that might have been the most perplexing from our reading, most of which pertain to relationships between men and women. But before we get there, I want to remind us about a few things just so we have the proper framework for what we're encountering here. God is not setting up a utopian society where everything is ideal. God is meeting the people where they are and giving them a framework for a functional society where people are treated with at least the bare minimum level of respect. When God addresses something like multiple wives, it doesn't mean he's putting a seal of approval on it. It means he's acknowledging that it happens. And he's giving them honorable ways to respond to an imperfect, sinful situation. We'll hit some challenging passages today, and it's important for us to remember not to overlay our cultural experience onto theirs. Speaking of which, let's go over the first tough segment, marrying female captives. For anyone in Western society today, this idea is really cringe-inducing. We even balk at the idea of arranged marriage, and this feels like it fringes on our idea of love and marriage even more. One of the things we have to remember about this society is that marriage rarely fit our modern ideas of love. Very rarely did a woman especially marry for love. They often married as a means of being provided for. So the situation we've got here is that the Israelites would have conquered a city and killed all the men, but taken the women and children alive. Some of these women would have been absorbed into the society. But if a man found a woman he wanted to marry, it's quite likely she wouldn't have objected. And this law God set out here honored the woman by giving her a 30-day period of time to mourn and grieve all she has lost before marrying the Israelite man. If for any reason things in the marriage went south, God protects the woman by requiring the man to treat her with honor, not like she's his property. Please don't miss God's heart in this. Even though so much of this seems archaic, we can still see God's plan to provide for the woman through the man and to protect her if the man fails to honor her well. We have a few more laws dealing with relationships between men and women, some of which pertain to a woman's virginity. There are a lot of ancient traditions, some of which are also cringeworthy, about how a couple should approach their first night of marriage. Most study Bibles and commentaries will have more info on this if you're curious. One of the many detrimental aspects of sexual infidelity was that it could potentially threaten the tribe's economy and land inheritance as God had distributed it. So it was important for them to have laws to protect against this. Moses also sets out a few standards for determining whether a woman has been raped or not. I know the portions saying if it happened in the country and if it happened in the city have the potential to be confusing, but here's the premise behind it. If the encounter happened in the country, even if she screamed, no one would be around to hear her, so she was given the benefit of the doubt. If it happened in the city, people would be around to hear her screams of objection. God's heart is for justice here, and he's setting up rules that can help people make determinations about what really happened on a case-by-case basis. There's one other potentially confusing thing I want to cover. First, there was the section where Moses gives laws about not mixing different things together: seeds in a field, animals for plowing, and fabrics in a garment. We don't really know the reasons behind these laws, but the commentaries I read suggested that it had something to do with reminding the Israelites of the importance of being set apart from other nations who don't follow Yahweh. These laws may have served as little daily reminders of how they were to be separate. It's also worth noting this passage mentioned not yoking a donkey and an ox together, but they also wouldn't mix two of the same animal with varying degrees of strength. A yoke is a piece of wood that goes across the animal's necks to hold them together while they pull a plow. And if you have one strong animal and one weak animal, the strong one can move fast, but the weak one moves slower, and they end up going in circles. So if you've ever heard Paul's command from 2 Corinthians 6:14 that says, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers," that's what he's talking about. Paul doesn't want us to end up going in circles, following Christ while yoked to someone else who isn't. It makes it nearly impossible to move forward. What was your God shot today? There were two sections about curses that stood out to me. In 21:23, in the laws about a man who is punished by being hung on a tree, the law says, "His body shall not remain all night on the tree, but you shall bury him the same day, for a hanged man is cursed." Paul referenced this law in Galatians 3:13 when he said, "Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. For it is written, 'Cursed is everyone who is hanged on a tree.'" Christ took on the curse for us. And again in today's reading in 23:5, Moses said, "The Lord your God turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loved you." This was in reference to Balak's efforts to get Balaam to curse the Israelites in Numbers 22-24. And today's reading reminded me of all that, of how God reverses futures. He takes the thing we deserve, what we've truly, fully earned, which is the curse, and absorbs it himself through his death on the cross so that we might receive the blessing, just like the Israelites did. The God who turns my curse to a blessing is the God I want to worship forever. He's where the joy is.
What's a nocturnal emission?
I don't know. When I read that, I wasn't sure what that was. It stuck out to me too. I was like, what is that? I mean, you try to think of what it's like a code word for. Like, what would it have been called at that point?
Masturbation. But that's what it is. It said wash your hands. Alright. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the beautiful morning you've brought us, Lord. Thank you for the good weather. Father, thank you for just being our Lord and guiding us in everything we do. Father, we ask you just with us as we go through the rest of this day. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be able to wake up this morning and open your book and read your word. Lord, just guide and direct us. Keep us safe. Forgive us where we fail you. Forgive us our sins. In your Son Christ's name we ask. Amen. Alright guys, I'll get these uploaded.
Maybe.
We'll see y'all.